Valiant, Amani.
We have hit record.
Tracks.
We have. Okay. So I guess I'm doing the intro. No, or are you doing it? Oh, you do it. Armani, this is your show.
No, you do the. It's not my show.
Never
It's our
perfect, y'all.
show.
Never
Look,
perfect.
I hit
You
record and went to
host the
say hey, and he
show.
immediately.
Yeah,
You got the
wait a
headset
minute.
mic.
You've not.
You're much more official than either of us are.
It's almost weird. It's almost like we're doing it on purpose. Like every time we have to start the show with a screw up. If I go through every recording right now, every single one of them starts with us laughing and me going, "We never start this thing properly." So
one day it'll go properly, and everyone will be like,
"That was
the worst show ever."
This is gonna be the worst show ever.
Worst
anyway.
show.
Well, we're here now, and hello, everybody. Welcome back to Roti And Poutine. I am the MC Armani Rain. Once again, I am joined with the T.R.A.C. The historian himself, MC Bubba. We are back to that, Mr. Valiant himself.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say that lasted not even an episode.
Not even an episode.
Technically, it's not even an episode because the episode that I corrected that on is until next week. So we're actually jumping back in time.
That's right.
Time jumping, ladies and gentlemen. But let's stop talking about our Highlander-esque theories, and let's talk about the guest of honor right now, right here. We are joined by the ever so wonderful DJ extraordinaire, powerhouse of a producer, one of the leading forces behind the EQ50, excuse me. And just a lovely human being. There are so many things we get to talk about outside, inside music. The wonderful, ever so lovely Sweetpea. How are you?
"Oh yes, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for asking me to come and join you. I'm excited and intrigued all in one."
We're gonna ruin that at some point. Like, why did I do this?
Multiple times over. You're gonna be like, damn, why did I do this?
Why did I come here?
You get to the end, like, why on earth did I do that? Okay,
Chickaboo lied to me. They are not.
We actually don't even know what Chickaboo said about us. We're just going by what Sweetpea said.
Well, there you go. She's only at the end of her WhatsApp, so be nice to me, or she'll be coming on.
Definitely a smoke none of us want. That is.
You don't want no smoke with the chicken.
She will call us out.
So, how are you? How are things? How is the quarantine treating you? It's one of two questions one of the two better questions we like to ask that we would rather not ask. But how have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. It's I've still been working throughout everything,
Nice.
which I guess in the grand scheme of things is actually a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
Been working at a hospital, which is probably not the best place to work at, but grass is always greener.
Wait, hold on. Wait, we got to clarify. Because to our American viewers, people in Canada and England say in hospital or at hospital instead of in the hospital or at the hospital. So I don't want people. I don't want people to think that you're talking about hospital records right now.
Oh no!
Okay, that's a better clarification because at first I was like, I'm pretty sure we knew what we meant, but okay.
Yeah, I kind of got the real hospital.
Starting off,
mansplaining the actual hospital, not the label hospital.
I'm backtracking. Okay, so I work in an actual hospital. So I worked on the COVID wards last year. Luckily, we haven't had to do it this time. We haven't been called, our team. But yeah, I've been okay. It's obviously been weird for everybody. Musically, thank God for EQ50 and just writing music. It's definitely, I feel like my mental health could have been a hell of a lot worse. And actually, it could have been a lot worse, and I've been okay. Yeah. EQ50 has obviously kept me really busy. We launched our mentorship, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little while.
Absolutely.
And yeah, myself as an artist, like I've actually had a really productive year. I've got a forthcoming EP coming with Spearhead, which I'm really excited about.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my first solo EP. I've done a lot of collabs. It just, obviously anyone that gets into production knows what an absolute minefield it is. Obviously I work as well, so it's just taken a little bit of time, but again, I guess like a lot of women in the scene, it's just been a huge confidence thing with me. Like a lot of tracks I got are 2-3 years old just sitting in my hard drive, but I just haven't had the confidence to sort of get it out there. And yeah, just the work with Steve, BC's such a cool dude.
Ooh,
And
BC, shout out to BC.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's amazing. Like all the crew there are just so nurturing and lovely. He's just a really nice guy, you know, like it's lovely. And yeah, just his support has just helped me grow in confidence, and yeah, I feel like in a good place with music and stuff. So yeah, it's been all right. It's all right in the grand scheme of things. I'm still here.
You're still
I
here,
still
right? You're here,
Maybe-
you're pushing, and that's as best as you can be, honestly.
That's it.
Let's ask you a question that we ask everybody here. It's not as serious. It's actually a little silly, but it's very important to the three of us. It's probably one of the most important questions we're going to ask you today.
I'm
High
ready for
stakes.
it.
High stakes.
Think before you say now. What is your bucket list food?
My bucket list food.
Bucket list. If you were going to, God forbid, something happened to you tomorrow and you couldn't never eat again, what would be your last meal?
Oh, my last meal. Oh, it's got to be mum's roast, isn't it?
Oh,
Big mum's
Quick
roast.
with it too. All right.
Yeah, mum, definitely. I reckon mum's roast, or my partner makes a mean like chicken curry, stewed chicken and rice. Yeah. Yeah. So one of them two. Yeah, one of them two.
All right.
Probably mum's roast.
You have to say mom's roast, right? with the proper nod to the partner.
All
sure.
these people come on and they have these moms that were great cooks. And my mom was like a terrible
You got to
cook.
stop saying that. Man.
I'm just so jealous. Like I
know, but from the three of us who like
Never
mom's
had
cooking, can you not talk about your mom? Don't talk down about mom's cooking, even if it's bad. Just say it's good for the rest of the world. It's just a respect thing, you know.
Oh man.
All right.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
Valiant, what was every time? Like we've had this conversation before. Valiant, what was
I'm
your...
so like viscerally jealous of that whole thing. Like
oh God.
such a bummer. Anyway,
Come
well,
down to Atlanta, man.
I'm sorry, Armani. What were you
I was
asking?
going to ask you what your food of the week was, since we can't.
Oh,
keep
dude,
doing
I
the
have been
bucket.
doing nothing but drinking like shakes and doing salads all week because I'm trying to lose weight. So don't ask me the question. I'm grumpy about it.
Shakes and salads.
Yeah,
Shakes and salads.
like
Shakes and
heavily
salads.
grumpy about it right now.
So you went from answering with nuts and berries to now I'm having shakes and salads. All right.
It's getting thicker about a week. it
Trying.
seems.
All right.
You're trying though, babe. It's good. You know,
You
step
know
in the
what I
right direction.
Totally. We were just talking about how we all needed to run. So at least you're showing initiative. I'm proud of you.
Oh
I
man,
apologize for assuming.
I'm like-
Absolutely.
you know you're at that point after like a week and you're just like, man, should I even bother with this?
The answer is yes. That's the
I
point.
know,
Just
I
to
know,
push through.
I know.
It's all up here, Valiant. It's
That's
all
it.
up here.
God.
Or else you sit back like me and collect whatever this is. Anyway,
Oh, no, you want to see mine? Yeah.
no, not you don't technically. Anyway, what was your food of the week, man?
We, like I've been on my exercise game as well, to be honest, and all that other good stuff. But I still have been eating. We found this new Italian spot that made sweet potato gnocchi. I don't know if you understand how crazy
I
that
do.
is.
Been there.
Really?
It's like a butter sauce with a sweet potato vibe and something. It's probably one of the best things I ate in a long bit. Like we were like, oh, we got to go back here again.
I
We
do
gotta-
love gnocchi, so man.
Yeah, but
I've
sweet
had it.
potato.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
sweet
explain
potato.
it, man. It's crazy. It was like, yo, what? And I was like, man, let me just get a chick parm or something. And then we was like, this
Not that there's anything wrong with a chick parm.
chick parm tells you how
Yeah.
good the restaurant is. Quite
Facts.
secret for foodies right
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
But yeah, I have to say that was a very I went looking up to see if anybody else done it, and honestly, I'm coming up short. So it's an original thing we had up here,
Culinary
and
experience.
that's my highlight for the week, sir.
Is that restaurant's chick parm though? Is the chicken like super thin and flat, or is it like a whole intact chicken?
It had a proper breading over the top, and what it seems like is that they're really good on their sauce, and the sauce really brings it all together.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, was the chicken itself? Was it like did they like hammer it thin or like slice it so it's like super thin, or was it like a full intact?
It's
chicken
one
breast?
whole cutlet.
Oh,
not
okay.
Flat.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
I like when they make it all thin. Anyway.
Can't go wrong with some good chicken.
Yeah, I think thin chicken's weird though, but whatever. I'm not judging. I love you.
Hey, Imani, what did you have this week, sir? What was your highlight?
Honestly, I'm very excited to say this. I have joined the platoon of people who know exactly what I'm about to say and how
Oh
dope
boy.
that is. I'm not going to talk about the food I had. I'm going to let the whole world know that as of yesterday, I am a proud owner of an air fryer.
Oh,
It's
snap.
about to go down.
Game changer.
So we've got the Instapot, we've got the air fryer. So catch me in another week and I'll explain to you all the things that we air fried for the last week.
When I was out in Florida, my girlfriend's pops actually bought it, but they wouldn't let him use it. And I was the only one like, yo, we just need to like take a moment in time. Maybe when they go to the beach, just grab up some stuff and throw it in there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And
We've been toying with it, man. We made
yeah.
brownies the first night and they made brownies in like half the time. I was very excited about that. It's
Oh
actually
man.
an air fryer mixed with convection oven and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, we got one of those for our wedding and we still have not unboxed it yet.
See what I'm
You are
saying?
slipping.
See what
I
I'm saying?
know,
You're
I know.
making good roast potatoes from my mum's roast, mate. So you're halfway there, sorted.
There you
Oh, I
go.
can imagine a roast in that thing, man. My God, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit you
Mm.
up for that recipe if you don't mind, Sweetpea.
Mhm.
Always, all good.
Yeah, you know how badly I'm craving potatoes right now?
Oh,
Oh,
that starch.
oh
2
my
weeks so
God.
far.
That's starch.
No,
Sorry.
stick to the shakes and grass.
Stick to
I
the
know,
chips.
I know.
So anyway, let's get on with it. Let's move on from the very important food for conversation that we absolutely needed to have. Sweet pea.
Yo,
I would ask you things like, where did that name come from? But I'm sure you've been asked that a million times. What
You
was your
probably still should
aha
answer that.
moment? What brought you into the music? Was it your background? Was it listening to mom's old records? Was it the environment you were in? What brought you to be such a driven DJ first?
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So the production came a little bit later. Once I was mixing, I just always, I don't know. A few people tried to, like, friends of mine. Me and Phil go back like years. And he always used to be like, "Oh, you should get into producing, blah 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 blah." And just at the time, I wasn't. I could appreciate it, but I just wasn't interested in it. I just wanted to mix. You make the tunes, I'll mix them. I'd be that annoying person at the party that would be like, one more tune, 10 tunes later, I just wanted to mix. I just wanted to DJ. That was it. And with time, definitely was a sort of progressional step. And just as I got a bit older, just kind of actually sat down, learned about it. Big up Protocol. He was the one that actually taught me the fundamental sort of basics of producing. And and then it's just kind of gone there. But yeah, like growing up, very musical house, lots of like Motown. Like we had a variety of music. Like I used to I grew up skateboarding as well, so I used to listen to like rock and indie and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that. So yeah, like lots of different music. Growing up, very musical house. The Sunday cleanup of the house, getting ready for the week, getting ready for school. Tunes would be blaring, and that'd be our day, kind of thing. So yeah, my mum's always been really musical and really supportive of me, sort of with the DJing and what I've been doing.
Really
But
important
yeah, I
stuff
guess
right there.
yeah, definitely. Like she's always kind of, I've always been a little bit like, oh, should I do this? And she's always been really like, just do any opportunity, take any opportunity that comes your way, and she's, yeah, definitely been a huge sort of backbone with me, getting out there and stuff like that. So mad props for her. But yeah, I guess getting into drum and bass, like obviously was a little bit more of a commercial route. Where I grew up, it was happy hardcore, which is very fast paced,
Yes.
music to those that know it. And like it was all right. I was, kind of, listened to it and stuff, but I didn't really properly connect with it. And then obviously just sort of what was being played on the TV, Shy FX obviously had quite a lot of chart success. The Pendulum album was quite inspirational for me
Another
as well.
groundbreaker.
Yeah, and then obviously when I got to 18, went to the club, and we, as you do when you go to the sort of, the uptown places, which are more bars and stuff, but they'll play the chart music, and you
Right.
kind of bop into your pop and your R&B, and then right at the end they'll always play a standard drum and bass track, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be Original Nutter, Chopper Tune, and Tarantula by Pendulum, right?
Right.
Oh boy.
So I, at the end of those nights, I'd always really enjoy the last like 20 minutes when they play some drum and bass. And my friend from school, Spectrum, who helped run inreach.co.uk,
Shout out.
he little shout out plug. We'd always just link, and it's quite funny because we didn't connect at school, but we connected after, and I just remember he was like, oh, but a bunch of us are going up to London, like to go and listen to some drum and bass. Do you want to come, basically? And I was sort of chatting to mum. I was like, oh, I might, can I go into London? She was like, yeah, go. You're going with a bunch of guys. I'll look after you. Like, go and experience the
Shout
world.
outs
Like,
to mom, man.
Yeah,
Shout outs
right?
to mom, for real.
That's
what I
not.
mean.
It's
Like,
not usual. That's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, she's number one is be safe. Like, just
Right.
let me know you're okay and stuff like that. But my mum is very much like, there's a huge wide world out there. Go and see it. I guess maybe a lot of people where I grew up probably haven't ventured out of that town.
The area. I got
yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's she always said it was really important to go and sort of, and just to go and experience life, like there's a lot of cool stuff out there, like go and see it. So yeah, first rave was Hospitality at Heaven, 2007 in September.
Nice.
And then that was it. I remember walking in and just sort of like, obviously the first thing you feel is the bass, isn't it? That's the first thing.
Right.
walking in, and we've got a drink, and you're just sort of there all shy and 18 and stuff. And then I remember just being like, I know I like it, but do I like it this much? And then obviously because I got a full night of it ahead of me, and it just took half an hour, and that was it, half hour, and I was fully
Gone.
settled in, just absolutely loving it. It was great experience. That first rave's always something that you never forget, isn't it?
That
the
first
time
one- The
everybody's
first one's
first
just like,
rave.
what is okay? What did I just step
Yeah.
in? And
And
why
it-
is this my life now?
That-
It's just like,
It's always that feeling too, and you walk out going, "Yo, what was that?" And I've never experienced anything like that before.
It's quite funny as well, because my first rave, I was dancing with a girl at the front, and we actually had our picture taken, which ended up being on the website. And then lo and behold, we just kept seeing each other out, and then she ended up being a best friend of mine for a good number of years, lived with her, and it's just that kind of family vibe that you find on the floor. I think
Absolutely.
is really nice. Definitely, like, it was.
So how long did you spend as a raver before you started putting like full-time kind of energy into DJing?
Probably 18. So I moved into London when I was probably 2021. So probably a good 2-3 years of of like raving. And then I started on pirate radio station Rude FM when I was 21. And then again it was just, I was just playing on radio, like mixing tunes, had a beer, like chatting fraff on the mic, like it's it was just it was nice. And I guess sort of back then it was a little bit, obviously there was social media, but it wasn't as kind of like detrimental as it is now.
Right.
So it's still a lot of word of
MySpace.
Yeah. People don't understand how much we went through just to get the word out back in the day.
Oh my God.
So
honestly, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, so was it out of curiosity? Was it something that you wanted to do? Was it just like an occurrence sort of ordeal as far as DJing?
I guess so. It was always, especially in the beginning, just a hobby. I enjoyed playing radio, got to have a mix and just roll out up there and stuff. And it was just a hobby. I always sort of describe it as a hobby that I'm all right at. It was got to Chef, DJ Chef. He was
Shout out to Chef. Woo!
yeah, absolutely. Like, got to give him his props, man. Like
Yes.
he definitely got, you know, word of mouth was still quite big when I was just first starting, and he actually got me like a few gigs, got me in touch with like Clayton at Hardware and stuff, got to play there.
Family.
And yeah, like it was not, and I think, I don't know when the point was when I was like, you know, maybe like maybe 2016 was probably one of personally one of my favorite years. I got to play Ingredients, Hardware, Symmetry, all in
There
one
was a
year.
time I
You know?
remember seeing your name everywhere, and that might be that.
Yeah.
It might be that year right there. I was like, who?
2006. Yeah, that was, and yeah, one of my favorite sets of all time was at Inner Soul, and that was that year as well. And I feel like probably after that, and when I was getting more gigs, because there was a point where I was just playing out pretty much every weekend, that I was like, oh, okay, like I am all right at this.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it is a bit more than just a hobby. And then obviously, yeah, came next was production. Yeah, I love it.
I'm sorry, Armand, you want to go ahead?
Oh no, I mean we're just all having a conversation, but I'm very interested in this the changeover to production because taught the basics or not everybody can do that. You know,
Hell
not
no.
everybody can, and you make great tunes. It's not like you can't. I can list the number of people.
I
Right
got
now
laughed out of studio. Some of my ideas. I remember that very,
who
very
have
good.
changed over and failed miserably. But
Yeah.
you know, your production's extremely tight, extremely clean. And what was your motivation behind that? How natural did that come to you? Not, I know it sounds weird. You're just like, I mean, I'm great, you know, but like,
And I'm a
it's
DJ.
not
What do you
an
expect?
easy, it's not an easy thing to do. Period.
Right.
Yeah, I think obviously the years of DJing probably helped when it comes to things like, you know the basics of a tune, you know, your like arrangement style. But yeah, I think for a lot of years I didn't worry too much about the technicals, and I think that's definitely something that I try and do when I'm producing. Obviously now I understand things about, you know, having things in key, and the importance of certain things and that, but I definitely just go with the flow of the vibe of it. If I like it, it stays. If I don't, it comes out. And that's definitely, you know, probably more like a vibes producer rather than sort of technicals. Like there's still a lot technicality wise that I don't know. I haven't
Same.
studied this at university or anything, and it's, you know, it's constantly, you know, going on and stuff. But yeah, I think you know, more vibes in the studio than sort of worrying about numbers and
Yeah, I mean,
things like that.
I was the same way. Like even because I don't produce drum and bass, but I produce a lot of hip hop. And even when I was producing hip hop, I would just go with whatever and then send it to Rob to master and figure out the technicalities. And I would say the same thing. It was like it's a vibe thing completely, but like how much easier it would be to create that bass line from scratch if I knew how to flip frequencies and things like that. But I never really got into that, and you know, it's a strange transition. It's almost even like when we start doing film now. Like, you know, I feel like all of these things are really just dependent. They're all the same application with different
Pretty much,
variables,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you can tap into that side of your brain, you should be all right.
And it's the beauty of creativity as well. Like, you know, I try not to, and that's probably why it's taken me a little bit longer as well. I've never like forced, obviously you've got to give yourself a bit of a kick up the arse sometimes to open the computer, but I feel like if you force yourself to do it, you're either going to waste time or just what you're going to produce isn't that great. But when my creative juices energy is going, like I can get the basics of a track within at least probably about an hour or two, like just the, you know, the idea kind of thing, like a good idea. And I think it's important to really sort of tap into that creativity when it's there and just go in on it rather than forcing yourself to do it. And maybe another reason why I've never done this full time and why it's still, you know, a hobby that I love. I feel like maybe if it was my breadwinner, I'd maybe resent it a little bit more because I have to make money from it rather than me doing it
Absolutely.
because I love it and I can still, you know, really enjoy, you know, 10 years later, I'm 32 now, like still enjoy going out playing to people, and it's still being such a, you know, such a great experience, because I still really love it, because it's still my hobby, it's my passion, it's my love, you know.
Right. Yeah, I went to university for illustration, and it sapped any creative energy I had for years. Like I remember after I stopped going to school, I didn't pick up a pencil again for like 4 or 5 years, like straight. Like, and I had been someone that drew every single day, and to this day, it's still hard for me sometimes to get creative energy up to draw again. So the idea that like you could resent your craft because you're making a living off of it is a very real pitfall that I think a lot of people don't necessarily expect is going to come their way.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken a lot of people out of the game
because it's a new dynamic. It's all right. You want to be business now. Now you got to follow or adhere to these rules, and a lot of the times the rules are unforgiving depending on, and I do believe it's more of a ladder stature, because if you're up here and you need extra time, you will get that extra time. If you're down here and you're trying to get to here, they're going to be like this, you're taking too long, and the next person's probably going to take your slot or whatever. And to deal with that on the way up is not it's not a great experience to have.
Also as well, drum and bass, like there's not, you know, I know it's kind of, you know, these you know, star glazed glasses and stuff of what it looks like. You know, oh, it's, you know, really fun, and you get to travel the world, and you know, yes, you do that, but there's not, in comparison to other genres, like we're screwed. There's no money, and like you know, to you know, create and hold like a, you know, a decent living off of it, you've either got to have been a legend that's been going for like 20, nearly 30 years, that's getting gigs every weekend, or you've got to be constantly at it. Like
you got to be 24 about it. Yep.
You got to be one of those. You got to be on one of those labels like Monster Cat or something that has like just.
Oh God! I saw Mario. I saw Mario.
Like, why are we hating on Monster Cat?
No. That's not hate. I'm saying like Monster Cat's like a huge label.
Shout out Monster Cat. Thanks for everything you've done for me, sirs. Anyway.
What I'm saying is like you've got to be sometimes like on a big label like Monster Cat or Liquidity or something that has massive reach in order to have any kind of like commercial success at drum and bass. I mean, even
I think in any non-pop music, I think the grind within itself is something a lot of people don't understand will take out of you. And I've had people ask me, even when I was, you know, gigging regularly, wait, man, how do you stay energetic and happy? It's like you have to love it.
Yes.
Point blank, period. Before we even get into the business or the grind, if you don't love it, either one of those things will destroy you immediately. You know what I mean? Like you can look at the rose-colored glasses and say we're on stage every day, but if you don't love doing that, that gets tiring after a while. You know what I mean? The airports, the yada, all of it. It's just like, how do I stay blissed? There's a part of me that while I was in the most extreme part of my days of touring, I would do anything to not listen to drum and bass when I'm not performing, just so that everything felt fresh the second I would hit stage again. You know, like we would do both of just, you know, you study the music and obviously you keep up to date with everything, but there's also a point where you need to separate and keep your, it's the same thing as if like, if you're doing art, you should go find a different job at the same time so that you don't, you know, feel like you have to do that.
Get over consumed, right?
That's something that I've done for quite a few years, and that's not kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, when I'm making drum and bass or I'm mixing or I'm doing radio, for example, you know, I absolutely love it. I love mixing, but you know, just day to day, I don't listen to any drum and bass, and if anything, I listen to other stuff completely far from it. I really love like UK neo soul, you know, lo-fi hip hop, jazz. That's me all day long. Like I could, it's in my ears from the moment I wake up to when I go home. Like, and I think it's important to, I mean, I get it. Like it's where you become a diehard lover of drum and bass, but it's, you know, not only from the aspect of picking up different ideas from different genres, but there's so much decent music out there. Like, I was a hardcore just going to listen to drum and bass for so many years, and the first time that I went to like a live music, you know, a jazz live music evening,
Even a live
changed my
rock
life,
band.
blew my mind, you know. And then I was
Yeah.
like, bruh, okay, like this is what there is, you know.
Right.
So
And,
do you?
and the best part too is drum and bass allows you to bring those things in. There's so many different styles of music that go into
Yeah.
drum and bass. It's doing nothing but
I also, to
setting
add
up
to
the-
that too,
Sorry,
Bonnie,
Maya.
is the fact that a lot of artists are not necessarily full on drum and bass kind of artists. There's a lot of rappers, there's a lot of singers.
What?
You know, Caliber does ambient music. If you don't, everybody's out there from the outside looking in. Jazz professionalists, extreme jazz vocalist legends, of course. Shouts to Cleveland, and
Yeah,
and
Cleve.
everybody. It's that kind of creates. But all these guys, as I mentioned, is pretty much they have these outside avenues, and that
Yeah.
just makes it a wholer situation than just jungle drum and bass. So, but we are pretty much part of the culture at the same time. So, it's one of those things.
Do you have any musical background besides just being a lover of music and being a DJ and producer and stuff like that? Like, did you play an instrument when you were growing up at all, or?
The triangle.
So
there we go.
So being that you are
Murdered that thing too.
I used to wake my mum up in the morning, do her heading, especially on a Saturday early with getting the pans. Used to pretend I was playing the drums. Like, yeah, I did. Looking back now, I would have loved to have learned how to play the guitar and the piano. But the truth is, we were just skint. Like, we were just poor growing up. So
no,
we just.
I feel that.
That's why I had to use the pots and pans. You know, like it was, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. So being that you didn't grow up playing an instrument and like the musicality, hush.
She sit back and think.
The musicality itself is not like it's not like a lot of these guys who out here are like piano prodigies and stuff like that. So how do you approach production then when playing an instrument, that kind of thing is not you're part of your primary musical nature. So how do you approach making a tune? How do you approach any melodic or musical elements?
Probably. I think like I was saying earlier, it's definitely more of, vibes. There's a bit of music theory that you have to learn when you're doing production. And to be honest, that clicking for me, oh God, we need to miss a year, don't we? Last year, that clicking for me last year actually helped progress my music. Hence now we've got the EP coming. So there are some, whereas you don't need to maybe be as technical, there is a slight bit of music
There's
theory.
A knack or something. I know what you're saying. It's just something inside of you. Just okay. Like
that you have to put them together, and something as simple, but obviously to somebody that didn't know before, something as simple as just having things in key, it was just from that is definitely and just sounds as well, like if it's the kind of slight scales. YouTube and Google are amazing for things like that, like lots of just watching like lots of different YouTube videos and stuff, but mainly just like, so again, just mainly just like if it sounds good, like I really like just using my ears with it. Like if it sounds good, I know roughly sort of placement into how I can sort of bring this sound through whilst blending another sound. But just if it, usually just vibes, and if it sounds good, kind of go with it. What
was the first software you ever used when you started producing?
I'm still using it, Logic 9.
Oh, you start with Logic. See, a lot of people, man,
jumped into the fire. Like, Logic's not a fun program like that.
Do you know what? Like, I'm all for just like I tried. So my friend Fars, bless him, we tried to make a tune together on Ableton. He's obviously a whiz, so he's like, it was a complete maze for me. I was like, yeah, it's fine. They're all kind of the same. Like, let me just sit down and have a listen. Honestly, I could not get my head around it. But I've got my computer, my little laptop. I've got a tiny little crappy laptop. Bless. It's like been revived from the dead about 5 times. It's a virgin on like 14 years old now, little Microsoft, like the keyboard's coming off, it doesn't have a battery, it's proper on its last legs, bless it, but it gets me through. And
it's some of the best music
yeah.
it's ever made on there.
Hey,
It's not what you got in there, it's what you do with it, you
It's
know.
what you do with
Exactly.
it.
You know what? I told the guys, actually, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I read Illogic actually mixed down his whole album on Apple headphones.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it was like, it's like, it feels to me like sometimes like it's such a swindle, you know, like having gear, software, blah, blah, blah. And I just remembered like the transition that everyone made from, this would have been before you start, way before you start producing, but when people switched over to things like Reason and Logic and Cubase, and they had been using trackers and analog, and like it seemed like nobody could really produce because you had to buy all this gear. And like you were saying, like YouTube and stuff like that, like they didn't have that stuff back then. It was, and producing seemed so out of reach for so many people. And it's like the democratization of it, like right now. So like right now, you're talking about your old laptop. I still use an old laptop, a stage mic that's like, you know, kind of on its last legs.
Funny
you know,
should say
I
that
got a
now.
pop
I'm about to
screen,
say
I got a
something.
pop screen with a nylon stocking on it with like a hole in it and everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah,
I
Some of the
even, I
best
even bought
vocals ever made.
I even bought myself like a desktop iMac, like the big one, to buy Logic 10 to like just upgrade basically. But because I was like, I'll just wait till my, you know, it's a tiny little 14-15 inch screen, you know, like I was like, I'll just wait till it dies and then I'll change over, and it just hasn't. It's so resilient. Like I feel
Like, I
feel
leave.
beer in it, like beer, I feel beer in it, like it's honestly, it's wiped and all the rest of it, it just will not die, this little tough computer. I love it. But no, I do, yeah, I love Logic 9. It's what I know my way around it. Yeah,
that
love
means
it.
everything.
It works for me. I've got that, my little headphones, like I do sometimes obviously work with Sick Night quite a lot. He's got a cool little setup studio at his place. Mixed down a few tracks there and stuff, but also like just getting help with mix downs, you know. I think there's no shame in getting help when it comes to those, you know, that kind of technical bit. I feel like there's a bit of a, you know, a bit, not like a shame over it, because there's people that openly talk about, you know, Randall, for example, he was like, I didn't mix my, you know, I gave it to Charlie Brake, you know, Goldie has an engineer and stuff, but I just, yeah, I feel like sometimes, you know, maybe opinions and attitudes towards, you know, new producers, maybe towards women as well, if you're not mixing down your stuff, blah blah blah, you know, it's, yeah, definitely still, you know, maybe a talking point, but I don't know. Yeah, I kind of feel like it's okay for some people, but not for others. But
I think it's a weird conversation too, because like as many producers I'm around, there's a very small fraction of them that mix down their own music. So I don't even know where that even comes from.
It's not an easy thing to do. Number one, man.
Most of the people I know, though, I made it. Now you make it sound good. Like,
yeah, pretty much is what happens. And you know, credit to all the engineers and the master cats who do make these guys sound. You know, they barely get mentioned nowadays. We don't do so much credit writing, but
yeah, the engineer over at Focus, man, he works overtime because that dude is. They release so much stuff. He must be
he must got like 2 houses by now. That dude, yo.
let's talk about the creation. You do have an EP coming, March 26th, correct?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
That's been a long time coming. Yes.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, sometimes I wish I'd started producing earlier, but I've also, again, I'm a big believer of everything when it's meant to. When I've mentally been there for it and things like that, I just think everything at the right time, and had to do other stuff first, you know. But yeah, super excited to finally get it out. Like, and yeah, like what an amazing label. Obviously followed Spearhead since I started, so yeah, that means a lot as well. And just going back to what we said earlier, Steve's just a really cool guy, so yeah, excited.
Also, how many tunes make this EP?
So there's 4 tracks. Got a track featuring Shady Novell, Undercover, that's the title track, which is quite funny. It's funny how things kind of go back around. Me and Shady probably go back about 8 or 9 years. When I moved to Brixton, sort of knew her through mutual friends, sort of early Noise Crew, met Talim, Conscience, early Flex Out gang down there. And and she sort of met Shady, and then she obviously kind of just like, you know, parted ways as you do, life goes on. And then we met again at the airport for Sun and Bass 2019. I'm always going to say last year, but we forget that one. For the last Sun and Bass, and it was like, oh, I haven't seen you for ages, blah blah blah. So sort of met her there again, and then just got the track finished, and the guy said, you know, why don't you think about getting a vocalist for it? And it was important for me because it's my first EP. Obviously, there's lots of people I could have asked. I've got friends on the internet, but it was important for me to be somebody that I knew. Just, you know, it's just special. It's just this, you know, it's the first one. I wanted it to be special. So before I'd basically chatting to my friend David, and he was like, why didn't you hit up Shady? She was amazing. Sent it over to her. She was like amazing. She's like, I love this female energy. And within 20 minutes, sent me a little WhatsApp voice note, like, yes, feeling these vibes. And it came together really, really quick. So she's amazing. Like, her energy's wicked. We're going to be working on, got some more tracks coming with her soon as well. So we're working on bits. And her voice is just like butter. Like, honestly, warm knife and butter. So smooth. She's got that, you know, that proper, just gorgeous voice. She could send her a WhatsApp message the other day, and I was like, babe, you could sing about bin bags and taking the rubbish in a minute. It sounds amazing. So we've got that track, and then we've got the Jump Off with my lovely Chickaboo. Really happy to work with her. I've just absolutely loved that woman since, you know, obviously EQ50 and stuff. And we've done a lot of live shows together, and was one of them things we said, oh, we'll get on a track together one day. Sent a few ideas back and forth, but nothing kind of properly, you know, through. And but, you know, again, just going back to vibes, if it's not working, leave it.
Right.
Keep, you know, maybe come back to it later, but just if it's not working, no, leave it. And, you know, when it's right. And then sent her the Jump Off, just got that one little hook, and it just really set the track off. And it's amazing. And I love all of the, again, like her energy on stage and things like that. I love doing the Spearhead streams with her. She has no pre-written bars. It's all, she just goes with the feeling of it. It's all improvised. Like, I love it. Absolutely love her. And then we've got Digital Pond and Kirby's Dreamland, which, really, Kirby's Dreamland got some support from Doc Scott, which was huge. Really, really love that.
The Doc.
That was a moment for me. I was like,
if he likes it, then you know it's real. That's, you know what I mean?
Bless him. Like, he went out of his way to tweet me as well and just said, I played it. Obviously I saw it because I was like, did he play my tune? But he was like, oh, I played it on my show the other day. I was like, oh, wicked, thank you. So that was really, really nice. And again, like, you know, like I said before, just having tracks, you know, Digital Pond and Kirby's Dreamland are at least 2 or 3 years old. They were, you know, they were tracks that I knew were good enough for the eventual EP. I just didn't know when the EP was coming, so I just kept them aside, worked on them, made them better as time went on and stuff, but knew that they were gonna be for the EP. So
that's fire.
It's exciting. I'm really hyped about it. Like,
I'm excited to hear this.
Rush.
March what? 20 what? Okay.
26,
no
March
more.
26.
So you talk about working with Chickaboo quite a bit and EQ50 and stuff like that. I want to talk a little bit about that. You're kind of looked at as one of the women that's come out that's sort of kind of kicked off a little bit of a renaissance of women in drum and bass. I don't want to say renaissance because, you know, a small minority of women is not exactly a renaissance. But how do you kind of see the role of women changing in drum and bass these last few years and kind of going forward? What kinds of things that are happening that you think are positive, and what kinds of things that are happening that you think are not really the most productive?
Yeah, I think obviously, I think women, you know, women's empowerment across all creative areas. Obviously, the Me Too movement happened.
Yeah.
It's not just drum and bass, that things like this, you know, just diversity and inclusion in general was being spoken about. So I think EQ50 came around at the right time, really. And we just kind of set out in to be just an event where, you know, women can get together, just feel not embarrassed to ask questions. We just hosted workshops, basically. So, you know, how to run an event. We had producers' surgeries, Q&As. Who was it? Yeah, we had Untouchables come down and did a little something for us. You know, DJ workshops and stuff. And more than anything, it was just to create a little network, really. I don't think any of us, you know, 2 years ago thought it would be, you know, what it's become, kind of thing. I feel like there was the nice thing about EQ50 actually is, you know, we have had a lot of shit right at the beginning, excuse my French, sorry, a lot of, you know,
you can
a lot
swear
of,
all you
can
fucking
say
want.
whatever you
sorry, trying to be polite. Yeah, we got a lot of crap, right? Well, I mean, you know, when Indie Mantra, sorry, first posted the numbers that kind of sparked the conversation off, I know she got quite a lot of backlash, and it was mainly just sort of bruised male egos. But when we got going, it's nice that we have a family. I feel like one person doing it possibly, you know, with the stick that we get sometimes, like, what, I don't think one person could deal with it, but we're a collective, so we all deal with it equally together, and it lessens the burden on one person, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Have you been getting any of that stick from people who are sort of high up in the scene, or is it just from like a lot of the punters?
You know, I look after the Instagram, so we get the odd sort of just dickheads, basically, emailing.
Anyone you want to name in particular?
No.
Name and shame, baby.
Tap his name across
yeah,
the
I mean,
screen.
like, we've had like some nice support from people. I know, you know, certain people, you know, men in the scene had their opinions about us and talked about us and stuff. I know that, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're doing something that's really cool and is really important. And we're bringing through some wicked women that have just been sitting underneath, do you know what I mean? Just been sitting there sort of doing nothing. We got two, so two of our mentees have got tracks coming out very soon. I feel like the mentorship was something we were talking about for ages, but just the timing wasn't right.
You know, I wanted to ask about that behind the scenes, but yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, no, I would actually love for you to get into that, because as someone, my mother here in Atlanta runs 100 Black Women, and they have a mentorship, and the amount of progress that comes through that is mind blowing. So I would love for you guys to, if you would like to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had spoken about the mentorship. It's probably in the pipes for at least a year and a half before we actually launched it. But it was just, timing wasn't right. We all work, we got families, you know, it just didn't happen at the right time. And this is the beautiful thing about EQ50, and I think is something that's been great for our success, is that we've done it all organically. Like, we haven't rushed anything. Most part being, there's always somebody that's going to find a fault on the internet. So we need to make sure we get everything right, that it's done properly. Also, it's the first kind of thing in drum and bass that's been done like this. So we need to, you know, we need to do it properly. But it's all kind of just happened, everything at the right time. I feel like the mentorship was definitely a switch when we had, you know, again, just this attitude of people just thinking, oh, just women moaning, blah, 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 blah. Right. But when actually we had, you know, Friction saying, yeah, this is really important. Brian G, oh my God, I love that guy. he wrote one of the nicest. We asked everybody for a quote, basically, just saying sort of, you know, what you think about it, and he wrote the most loveliest like quote.
I do remember his quote
Absolutely
being really nice
amazing.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been so, and they like, you know, just the whole, just how everyone involved has been really on it and pushed it. And then obviously, again, we know just from anything, stuff has to come from the top down. So, you know, these top labels are saying this is important. We're working with this crew, this collective, like, you know, they know what they're talking about. Kind of then everyone kind of was like, oh, well, okay, actually, maybe this is a good thing. And I feel like attitude changed towards us. So yeah, and just off the back of that, it's been lovely to see, like, you know, just more little collectives, little pockets, even if it's something like a mix series or just somebody pledging to do better at their event. Or, you know, I'll always big up Full Spectrum Bristol over here in the UK. They and Lakota is a venue. They have 50-50 lineups, and that's the way they roll. That's, you know, it's, they do that in Berlin. It's, you know, they can't put on a festival without 50-50 lineups, and I think it's something that could be transferred elsewhere. But yeah, the mentorship, we didn't realize it was going to be quite as big as it was. We thought we'd get maybe like a handful of decent bits, but we, you know, the amount of people that entered firstly was mind-blowing, and the quality of talent, I think we all sort of maybe underestimated slightly.
Wow.
But we were just absolutely blown away by the sheer amount of talent that is just sitting there, you know. And it's looking
Vocalists
back
and
now, you're like,
producers as well.
full tracks, you know. Some women have got EPs and things like that, so it's really nice to see that there is obviously a need for this, you know. And two of our mentees have got tracks coming out, which is really cool. One of them, it was the demo that they submitted to us to join the mentorship. So yeah, and it's not, you know, again, sometimes, again, this is something that's been maybe a little barrier. People think it's, oh, well, you're just gonna, you know, just put a woman, you know, these women aren't going to be all of a sudden headlining Boomtown by the end of this. We're not giving them, you know, here you go, here's a leg up to stardom. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. It's about, you know, making them all-round good producers and using this year to better them. A lot of them are young. They're at the beginning of their careers, you know. It's going to carry on after EQ50. So let's give them
times for them.
let's give them the right tools, so then when they finish the year, they can then flower, you know.
So how many women were involved in the first, I guess, class, you could say, the first class of mentees?
Six. We have 5 labels. Ram took 2. Big up Ram. Ram took 2 artists. They have the space and the capacity to do that, so I think that was a really lovely thing that they did. Absolutely. Also, their 2 mentees were really good, and they couldn't pick as well. They were like, we can't pick between the 2, so we'll just take both of them. And I think, you know, for a firm mentorship, you know, the talent was so good, we had to pick 2. What a great kind of, you know, what a great way to start.
So how's COVID impacting the second class? I like it's
no, so it's I mean, it's everything's done via Zoom, so we have regular Zoom like updates. A lot of things like the master classes are done over Zoom and stuff. Production master classes, obviously there's things like, you know, if COVID wasn't here, we would have had the opportunity to play in clubs, you know, if it was maybe before an event, or kind of like, you know, have them privately. So, you know, Fabric and Corsica Studios, you know, the women would have been able to play in there, just for practice on a sound system. We know that moving from being a bedroom DJ to playing a gig, that, you know, getting the monitor ear is different, isn't it? So yeah, and just even like, I can't wait till the day that we can all just, you know, meet up as well. Like, we obviously see them on Zoom, but we haven't all linked together. So yeah, a little bit annoying in that respect, but at the same time, we're still in a way, it's sort of a little bit easier because of obviously Zoom, and everything can be done sort of from home, luckily. But yeah,
it's beautiful. I love it that, it's because it's very hard. It's great to see the validation for one. It's very hard. We've spoken about other people, and I don't even want to direct towards them, but we understand that every movement, if not handled properly, has the fear of showing some kind of tokenism or things like that. So to show that you're continuously building a foundation and building them up from the ground up so that they can support their own is a massive take on, and I bet extremely validating, and it feels good that it's
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
absolutely love being a mentee. Like I love it. Had a little chat with my critical mentee today, just checking in, making sure she's okay, just having a chat. And I think the most part and the reason why I love EQ50 so much is that I really could have done with something like this when I was coming through.
Right.
Just someone for a bit of advice, somebody to tell me, actually, I did too many free gigs just because I was happy to play and happy for the opportunity, which is again a common thing that happens.
I
The
almost want to
women
say
quite
air horns in the chatty for that one.
yeah. So yeah, I would have loved like a bit of a big sister, like Mantra, and ended up being a bit of a mentor for me, as I got a bit more of a business head, obviously when more gigs were coming through, and no one likes talking about money and stuff, but that's again another side to, as we're seeing at the moment, to drum and bass that they don't talk about, and that's the sort of the business side of it. It is all very lovely, and you're playing tunes you love, and you're mixing, and you're MCing, and you love it, but actually you've got to have a bit of a business head on your shoulders when it comes to sort of doing it full time.
That is
And
such a
Well, let's-
whole nother conversation too. My God.
We'll
But
save
Let's
that
talk.
for the
Let's
next one.
let's have that conversation a little bit actually, because
Oh, you're uncomfortable?
no, we're
Let's
gonna
talk about it
totally
now.
open the wound a little bit
this,
more.
this is
Like,
why you guys have me
put a
on the
little
show.
salt in there. Let's see what happens.
Look, this is not a gotcha kind of question. You posted this in your stories, and you did call out Chase and Status, because Jenna G's song with them has been removed from streaming services. And am I right in saying that there's an issue when it comes to her royalties?
Yeah, so I think she basically woke up and half of her back catalogue has disappeared from Spotify, and offline.
Wow.
It's not just Chase and Status at fault.
Right.
Also, again, and it kind of goes down to just how undervalued MCs and vocalists are in drum and bass. Like her
Air horns once again. We need air horns.
Sorry, guys.
Yes.
Even down to things like placement on flyers and stuff like that. But in this instance, like her vocals were being sent around for remixes without her consent and stuff like that. So it's just courtesy, isn't it? Really.
So that does bring up though, like what do you see as EQ50's and maybe your role going forward in educating women and what they can do to protect themselves from this kind of thing? Because obviously, obviously artists in general are always taken advantage of, especially the ones who are not spearheading the project. Women, especially Black women, obviously we've seen a lot of Black artists kind of disappear from drum and bass in a lot of ways for a myriad of reasons. And Jenna, as high esteem as people hold her in, it seems like
right at the
this
top.
is far from the first time she has run into these issues with her music. So what can we do when it comes to women as artists, especially vocalists and stuff like that, to protect their work, to make sure that they are getting the money that is owed to them, to make sure that their work doesn't disappear either?
Yeah, I think it's hugely. I mean, Jenna's like the voice of a generation in drum and bass. I can't believe, and you know what I did? I was scrolling through Twitter. They had posted, and I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to post that. A lot of people, I don't know why, like the silence in drum and bass by big artists really baffles me. I don't know. Silence speaks more than if you call out people for being wrongdoing. Do you know what I mean? I never understand why certain people keep their mouth shut. I know they don't want to, get involved,
Right.
or they think it's going to affect their reputation or stuff. But
Or
like, if
just
something's
send
wrong,
them DM on the low. Hey, listen, we got to
It's not
talk.
even. I think
Boom.
because of the simple fact, because one, drum and bass at the end of the day is such a young genre, and there's a very polarizing situation between those at the top and those at the bottom. Like it's night and
yeah,
day.
but all the old ones are like, the older one, it is a young, fairly young genre, but all the older ones who have been here since the beginning, they've got the biggest platforms and have the biggest voices, and a lot of
Everything.
them don't say anything. But yeah, I mean, we, EQ50's messages are always open. I'm constantly, and my personal pages, always giving people advice. We've got a group as well, a private Facebook group, where, people can just ask questions and things like that. Also, I think the unfortunate thing with Jenna is probably, contracts and legal stuff is a little bit more
Different.
on point, a little bit more
Right.
on point these days.
What you sign is what
Whereas
you get, kind of
before-
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, whereas before it probably a few things would have gone swept under the rug and things like that. I think it's unfortunate that something like this has happened to somebody so lovely. She's amazing. She's such a cool person. But at the same time, we need things like this,
I was
as
gonna
bad as
say,
it is, to make sure it doesn't happen again.
because if it can happen to her, it can happen to anyone.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have had exactly the same problem. I'm going through the same issue at the moment, getting paid for stuff. The label, I've spoke to the label, it's all good, it's getting sorted. But if I didn't approach them, would they have approached me? That's my
Nobody says, hey, we backtracked ourselves and this is what we came up
We owe
with.
you a whole bunch of money.
Do you see a role for, well, not just CQ50, but any kind of organizationally for potentially representing women artists? I mean, obviously
like a
union, agency, I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly what to call it, but I mean, clearly artists in general are not taught, especially at higher levels. Look, for me, I mean, I'm a North American artist, and in that sense, I'm very much, and I'm on a smaller level. So I'm on the outside looking in for a lot of this stuff, but it seems like a lot of artists just simply are not given the information that they need to know about the legal ins and outs of their own work. Yeah. So I feel like there's still obviously a very large education gap for artists in general, and especially the artists that are most vulnerable to this kind of thing, like women, Black women, etc. And people are still obviously trying to take advantage. So, I mean, is there kind of, I mean, as an artist in the UK, and you are kind of on the ascendancy right now, what do you think needs to happen to help stem this sort of thing from happening in the future?
Yeah, I think it's, I think anybody with a platform, be it a label or an artist, you have a voice, you have a platform, you have a following. We should be using that for good, and again, I just go back to silence speaks bigger volumes than if you just say something, say how you feel, like, as for EQ50, we are always here to support. And one of our, so within our mentorship, our masterclass with ESP runs, kind of covers all of that stuff that you said, contracts, the legal bits and bobs and all the kind of small print and things like that. But I think, more than anything, it's just important to get a second opinion, and just for people to, just kind of not even offer their set, but just offer their time, like, and say, if anyone needs me to, read over a contract you're not sure about, like, let me know. I think there's some really cool women working behind it. I think it's important for labels to have women and, Black people in their, in their roster, in their team. You can't. So that's the thing with EQ50. We're here, we're a crew chatting about diversity. If we were all white girls, you can't. Right. How are we going to be talking to you about diversity when we're not diverse? So, right. So it's important, and also it's important to hear the voices of our Black women in our group, to to hear their point of view and listen to them as well. That's the whole point of
To
it.
add the balance.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, go on, but
No. I was just going to add to that, but yeah, you were just pretty much along the same lines. I was just thinking more of the when Valiant brought it up, what was weighing in my head was the idea of free enterprise versus some sort of collaborative behind of scene of unification for people to have a space to hold said private free enterprises to a certain standard. And I don't know, for me, it's just a matter of a circle of strong, like a EQ50 of sorts, to have like this, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. Let me go ahead and have this conversation with somebody from outside that can kind of help a little bit, because at the end of the day, you're still going to make your own decisions. And also keep in mind, most artists that come into the music game, no matter what age you are coming in, you are so happy to put a record out that you're not even
Facts.
thinking about
you're
what
not
this
reading
is.
that contract. You're just like, oh,
Yeah.
my name's there, sign.
Yep, that's it.
There's two combinations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that come in that are just happy to be. There's a lot of people who come in and think they know everything. A lot of it, I feel like this type of revolution, not just through EQ50, but even across all genres, there's been more of an understanding that things need to change. We're still fresh in
Definitely.
the game of reading contracts, people fighting for masters. I think we're really just starting to understand this education needs to be given more. We
Yeah,
need more EQ50 spread out through many different types of personalities. A
definitely.
lot of everyone's education right now is coming from a bunch of people who've been burned instead of,
Yeah, you're
it's
And
right.
like,
that's my
it's a
only problem
reaction.
too. Like
Uh,
Bonnie, that's my only problem is sometimes the burned person might be reflecting on something that isn't necessarily as big as it is, but they have a big platform. So that little thing turns into something big,
I'm
and
I'm I'm just saying that
you know what
even
I'm saying?
before we even get into that, that no one's
Right.
even learning from everyone else because we're being reactionary as opposed to
Right. Well,
someone
yeah.
stepping up and saying, hey, before you jump into this game, here are many different tools you're allowed to have. Basically, what Valiant's asking for hasn't been created across the board. It's not even
The thing
just
is, there's not like, if you think about it in the workplace, there's an HR department. There isn't an HR
no.
department
Apartments
in music, in
in
drum and
music
bass.
industry.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's where cracks are forming, people are slipping and people are pulling fast ones because you don't really have a leg to stand on because there isn't anything legal. I mean, over here, I think it's what was it? Some legislation's been passed. I think they're wanting to get people to agree with it, but I think it's more from the obviously all the sexual assault allegations and things like that are coming up. I think it's more directed in that kind of area. But yeah, I fully agree. There needs to be more education about the ins and outs, and I'm hoping that's something that EQ50 offers. We offer to our mentees and anybody that sort of needs any advice. It's definitely something that's important, and as much as we can, we'll promote that and provide that support where we can as
You're
well.
doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
So
That's
I heard you on the EQ50 Sun and Bass podcast,
Yep.
and you were talking a little bit about the work you do for NHS. So
Yes.
describe the work that you do and the kinds of things that you've seen this past year with COVID-19. Like,
Yeah.
I think hearing from somebody who is like kind of on the ground, I don't know. Well, here, talk about what you do
what
first.
you're
First of
comfortable
all,
with.
for
So
that.
Okay.
I understand this is probably a difficult.
Um,
Yeah.
so my day job is a play therapist. We basically support children and families that come in for procedures. I work at a specialist hospital, so we get some really, really sick kids, little, very sick babies, all the way up to 16, obviously. And it's great, it's nice. Through play and distraction and things like that, these kids we've got a lot of needle phobic children, some children, bless them, that are sort of at end of life, and we help make the short time they are here as fun, as enjoyable as we can. But yeah, everybody got redeployed last year. Basically, we all got redeployed, and yeah, went and worked on the COVID wards. My team kind of ran the PPE area, so we'd get everybody in and out of their clothes and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely, I saw people hooked up to monitors and all the rest of it. I think questions need to be asked and looked at more about why the types of people that are getting it. Because for me, there was a kind of range of people, but there was sort of specifically more types of people than others. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed, needs to be looked at and understood a little bit better. I think obviously we had the Nightingale bill in the UK, which is essentially, well, it was a big publicity stunt to some, but it was meant to house 4,000 beds. All it was a warehouse, basically, with beds in there, but they didn't have hospital facilities, so there was no, they could only do so much, for example. So whereas the news and media portrayed it as, 4,000 people were going to be in here with COVID, they only really had about 30 or 40 people, which again just shows how, my hospital was able to turn wards upside down and turn it into COVID wards in a matter of time. And it just goes to show how strong and, amazing our, national healthcare system is over here. Maybe not for much longer because it's about to be sold off, but yeah. But yeah, it's right at the beginning, it was just really weird. Nobody knew what was going on. Obviously, I think similarly to you guys over there, both our governments have handled it atrociously, to be honest.
What?
I mean, they tried, right?
No.
Oh Lord.
No.
Did we try yet? I'm not even sure yet.
No, honestly, it's really disgusting. And I think, again, it's a really crap situation, and it's really bad what's going on. But again, something that's not being spoken about is people's mental health. Like
that's what I want to bring up.
Humans aren't meant to be isolated from other people. People have lost their businesses. Like I said earlier, like I really wished I was one of the furloughed lot, but actually looking at it now, I'm glad I've still been able to go out to work, because I know people, bless some of my, musical friends and stuff, like how are they surviving without an income at the moment? Like
and no help from the government, huh?
Well, that's only going to go so far. Like even like my theatre friends and stuff, and I think you had to be like 3 years claiming to be able to claim. I know friends that have obviously, our restaurants and stuff have shut down, and because they're, they've had to move because they can't afford their rent. They've got no money coming in. They've had to move back in with parents.
Yeah.
The effect, not to get too morbid on it, but just the effect of what this is having to our young people as well. Like we're not talking about that, even down to little things like how babies interact and take everything in through the eyes. If everyone's covered in I'm not saying masks shouldn't be worn, but if people are covered in a mask, they're not, like they're developmentally is what I'm worried about.
For some people, it's too much to wear a mask, and I guess the problem is, I've always said this, and we I don't want to say super long on it, but it's just the way this whole thing was introduced has caused this sort of divide between the people that is hard to bring back at a level of like, all right, let's get serious, everybody, boom, 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 boom. And I think that's where everything is. And yes, it's coming from places we're supposed to depend on, like our leaders. Your PM, he caught it a couple times and still is like, well, let's keep the colleges open or whatever have you. And I say that though, you guys have I thought that things were going good, because a friend of mine showed me like a vaccine app calendar or something. You know what? Do you know
Yeah,
what I'm
so
talking about?
they've started rolling out vaccines here. Key workers are first in line for it, and then obviously everybody else is gonna get it after that. So yeah, we'll see if that makes a difference. I mean, you can still catch COVID from the vaccine.
Correct. And spread it.
So we'll see. And my thinking is our government have messed this up. I'm sure they're going to mess up the vaccine somehow, you know.
We're going through that right now. Actually,
Yeah.
we're already
Also,
trying to play catch up.
the other thing is as well, and I think is why some people aren't taking it seriously, is because there's one rule for one, the people, and there's one rule for another. Like our MPs and our upper class people are still going about their days, still driving up the country to go and see family. So, you know, even people as far as Rita Ora paid $5,000 so she could still have her birthday party to some restaurant people, so they could turn the cameras off so she could celebrate her birthday. So it's like, but then if that happened here, we would have been arrested and fined and stuff, but they're not. So it's, I think in a weird way, you know, try and see the good out of everything. I feel like people are finally maybe waking up to the, you know, upper lower class divide a little bit, and wealth, like the wealth divide a little bit with this, because this isn't made to help poor people, you know, or working class people.
They couldn't care less. It's interesting
Yeah.
too. The reason why we wanted to talk to you about this so much is to, one, because you know you were on the ground, you actually witnessed these things firsthand. It's not a Besides, our biggest problem we've had with this from the beginning, our biggest enemy was misinformation, people not believing it's real, people not understanding how serious it was, to actually hear someone who actually went through it. And then even when you were speaking about the mask, that's not it. Before we even get into what you believe or don't believe or what's good or what isn't, you're right. There's a psyche that goes along with that that's changing our society. Even speaking about what's going back to a normal, what the new normal is, like those are the things I think about. We can argue all day about, you know, what sciences you believe or don't believe. I don't need to get into that because science is math to me. If the numbers are what they are, you want to argue that, that's your business. Like, I'm not concerned. I'm concerned about how we move forward from these things. And I've stopped arguing with people. I live in a city right now,
Oh
a
yeah,
state
he's in the
that's
battleground state.
extremely open. Everyone's walking around like everything's cool, and I don't knock. I understand COVID fatigue is an extremely serious thing. How we handle it from here on out, the vaccines or whatever. I've even said to this point, whether I trust the vaccine to be completely efficient or not, and I do. I own stock in BioNTech for, you know, like this needs to work in my opinion. Um, whether I have trust issues with how quickly these things went out, I'm at the point now where I'm ready to take this vaccine because I don't trust the rest of society to sit down and sort it out. Like it's like I'm not going to sit around and wait for everyone to do the right thing. So, um, you're right. Like even when you said, prime example, and not to call you out track, this is not the purpose of this.
What did I do?
The second even the second that she said mask, it was a triggering feeling to us in the States. It's like, all right, now we're talking about
It's a
masks.
big fight out here.
That's not even what she was saying. She was just saying the development of a baby, of a small child. You have children, young one, very young, and you know that when you start to see shapes and colors and things like that, just becoming accustomed to this new normal is completely different. I have two children right now, one 12, one's about to be 9 in like a couple weeks. Yes, hi. And the effect this has had just staying home, you know. You want to say hello? You know, it's gotten to the
Ladies and
point like
gentlemen.
they were great for a while. It was cool, but it's been a year now, and we're actually getting to the point. It's like, okay, like how long do I have to shelter this from you or protect?
I definitely. I mean, it's, you know, it is, you know, it itself is definitely real. Like I've seen it. The X-rays of lungs and things like that. It itself is definitely real, but the way that the government have really badly, you know, tried to deal with it, I think is what's been the worst thing about it. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I try and be optimistic about, you know, looking forwards and things like that. There needs to be a point where, you know, the world's going to have to get back on, you know, back on the road again at some point, you know. So it's you know, how and when, I think, is the main one. When we get there,
It's just when.
yeah,
Because I
and when
feel
is
like
good.
I feel like we'll be okay. We just need to be honest about the situation. That's my whole thing. It's
We
like
need, yeah.
I feel information negates panic is the thing I've been saying since last March. It's like, you know, there even when I speak matter of factly of these things, I'm not depressed about it. I'm not upset. I just think that we just need to be honest with each other and say this is what's going on, and the sooner we all acknowledge that, the faster we can.
Well, the problem is a lot of people aren't accepting of
I feel that.
information.
I
You
understand.
know, I mean, as we've seen, especially in the United States, people are not accepting of verifiable scientific fact. I mean,
It's real out here. It's a
you know,
sad story,
look,
bro.
you can explain why airplanes make those little trails in the sky, which is a scientific phenomenon, which is observable, but it does not convince people that it is not chemtrails. You know what I mean? So it's like
Wait,
we're
it's
dealing with a large segment of people who don't want to hear the truth, and so they interpret the truth completely differently.
Yeah.
And they are
for sure.
obviously, those people are being very counterproductive. Let me ask you in your work, how is your mental health doing?
Yeah, it, you know, like I said earlier, I feel like it could have been a lot worse. God bless my partner and God bless EQ50 because
Right.
that's really kept me going. Right at the beginning, obviously last year when we all got redeployed, like, you know, it was my birthday. I couldn't even celebrate. It was just when it had kicked off and things like that, and it did. I had a massive dip. Obviously, the way it was portrayed, we were all going to die, yeah, and I was going to die even quicker because I had to go out to work. Fuck you,
Right.
furlough lot. You know, that was it at the beginning. But yeah, like EQ50's kept me really busy, and still going out to work and being able to write music has kept me busy. Had a
Nice.
little dip, probably just your standard winter SAD kicking in dip as it gets, you know,
Yeah.
darker and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, I take daily vitamins. I cycle to work, which is like 20 miles a day. So I do really try and take care of myself.
Some
And
active business. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, you know, I know people say it, you know, constantly, but exercise and endorphins are the biggest like vibe booster that you could, you know, that you could get. Like the couple vitamins like iron, B12 for one, vitamin D, man, everyone needs some of that at the moment.
Absolutely.
You know,
I'm on it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, just you know, just a couple of little, you know, things you can do, starting as small as just taking some supplements and exercising for a little while. Like I used to try and run. You know, I'm not really built for built for running. You know, I'm more good at javelin and power activities, if I'm honest. But yeah, I used to run. I used to do a lot of running, you know, try and run home from work and stuff like that. And just sort of felt in a bit of you know, don't know what to do. And I decided to get a bike, and I really enjoy cycling. Like, I find it really fun.
Nice.
You can be knowing what London's like. You can just go half an hour one way and you're on another side of the city. And, you know, yeah, I really, really enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm probably a positive person in general. I always try and see the good in things. Quite enthusiastic about life, to be honest. So yeah, I think mental health wise has been okay, but I think there's been, yeah, definitely like me and my partner's definitely helped, and EQ50 massively as
Do you
well. And just
do you see?
having the support of the sisters there as well. Like, we've all had our little dips, but we're all there for each other. We talk every day, and yeah, I
Nice.
couldn't kind of imagine. We're sisters, you know. It's more than just
Mm-hmm.
EQ50.
No, we get it. I
Like,
talk to
them
these
are
two
family.
knuckleheads
Yeah.
every day. So
And
Do,
what a great bunch as well. What a great bunch of women. Like, yeah, absolutely amazing.
do you see any of your colleagues? Not, and I don't mean music colleagues. I mean colleagues at work. or people that are around you at work? Do you see people dealing with kind of anything like PTSD type stuff? Do you see them having a hard time coping with the constant sort of
On site.
eternal crisis situation that you're all dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the nurses, obviously, that are in there in the ITU wards, are feeling it. There was, when we were over there doing our bit, there was a point where, you could just see like the night shift crew came, and you could just see that they were fed up, basically. But that's I always respected nurses, but I found a newfound respect for them last year, like when I saw sort of what they did, kind of thing.
My sister's
But
a
again,
nurse.
just,
I know all about it.
just having a strong support network at work. We all go through our dips. I've got a great team, like immediate team that I work with. And we all have our down days, but we're all sort of there to sort of being a team's about, just being there to pick each other up and boost each other when you're all just picking up the pieces if you're having a bit of a shit day and stuff. So yeah, it's important to have a really good support network at work, I think.
Well, from all of us, thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. You're one of those names that's probably going to be etched in the streets for being part of something to help us get past. So, I would say get ready for that as well. And, again, I think these critical times will be even more like realized after the fact, because we got a lot of looking back to do after we get past these kind of grounds.
Sharp and steel.
Right, straight up. Hey, how was your time in New York? I know you came to New York a while back. How did you enjoy yourself out here?
I did. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, got to shout out the Heartbeats crew. Had a really, really good time. It was my first time in America.
Right.
So yeah, did the full tourist.
Oh, you did. That's right. Okay, yeah. Say no more. Great.
Did the full touristy thing. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Brilliant 5 days. And yeah, big up Rafi, big up the Heartbeats crew. Yeah, can't wait to come back.
Hopefully you get to come back soon. We get all this in order.
Yeah, sometime this decade.
Yeah,
when will it end?
Soon.
Yeah, for real. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was really cool talking to you, and it was nice hearing some perspective that we don't get to hear too often on the show. We need to get more of you on here, especially from the EQ 50 camp. That would be great.
Yes.
So
thank you for coming with our bullshit as well.
And send everyone our best. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Big love to everybody.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Much love.
Thank you.
Amani track. There goes your theme music right there.